Ohio State gets a huge victory in the Rose Bowl and what I think is the best win in the Ryan Day era by far. I said previously last week that the Tennessee win was probably his second best win. I thought his best win ever was against Clemson in the Sugar Bowl. This one trumps it by far. If you look at it, they played an incredible game, 41-21 against an undefeated Oregon team who had beat them previously in the year. And going into this, I predicted that Ohio State would win this game, but I didn't think it'd look like this. And I go back to it, and I said time and time again in the previous video when I broke down what the keys were to this game, if you target Jeremiah Smith 10 to 15 times, nobody can beat you. Nobody in the country can beat him because nobody can guard him. And what's incredible is he's won the Rose Bowl MVP. He's had this ridiculous year. Everybody in the country knows who he is, and he's a true freshman. As a receiver, I've never seen a true freshman get this much attention before, where everybody knows him in the country. Like, you've seen it before from freshman quarterbacks because of how daunting and important the position is, but you've never seen it from a receiver. I've never seen a receiver like Jeremiah Smith, and that includes Randy Moss. That includes all-timers like Megatron. I've never seen a receiver at this age like Jeremiah Smith. If he was available for the draft, number one pick by a mile in this draft class. Number one pick by a mile. But Ohio State gets this really big win. I think it's their best win in about a decade as a program. Obviously, the best win in the Ryan Day era. I think he really solidified himself today. I think with this win, he secures a position at Ohio State for at least 5 to 10 plus years. This is a huge, huge win against an Oregon team that I thought was beatable, but to see them get exposed like this just really showed how powerful this Ohio State team was on paper. And they finally played better in this game than they played last game against Tennessee, which is ridiculous because it's just been two really good performances in a row. They always play well in the Rose Bowl, though. Ohio State, as I said in the breakdown for the game, Ohio State travels really well to Pasadena. We love the Buckeye fans, Buckeye Nation love the Rose Bowl. It's a really big landmark game for the program. It's usually where the season is supposed to end. Obviously, there's going to be two more games, and for the next one, they have to go to Texas, to Jerry World, and they got to play in the Cotton Bowl against Texas. And Texas is a really talented team. They have their former quarterback who was at Ohio State for about one season, Quinn Ewers there. But Texas nearly lost the game to Arizona State. They've looked shaky. They have questionable quarterback play. So that's going to be a really interesting game to break down. And if you look at the path for Ohio State, what it's looking like right now is you had Tennessee in the first one. You had an undefeated Oregon. Next, you have Texas, who is a lot of people all year have been saying that Texas, before obviously they had those losses to Georgia, people were saying that Texas was the best team in the country. And now we get this matchup, albeit I figured that this matchup would be in the national championship game. We're going to get in the semifinal. Huge, massive game. And it's going to be a tough one for Ohio State. But going back to the Rose Bowl, just through and through, incredible game plan, incredible effort was shown. But I like how they got the ball to their guy early. They got their ball to Jeremiah Smith early, and when you're able to do that once he puts his foot on the game, there's just nothing that you can do. You can't guard him, especially Oregon with these people. And I think that the defense really stepped up. Caleb Downs is just incredible. He dropped like 3 interceptions. That he could have had an all-time game today. He played really good. What's unfortunate about him is a lot of his, and he's known as a really good player and the commander of that defense. But what's unfortunate about him is a lot of the things that he does, there's just no statistics for it. But if you sit there and you watch what he does, the way he covers things up, the way he just it really, really incredible player that's really above his years, going to be a great NFL pro and has to come back for another year, which is going to be really interesting to see. But the defense played really well. I thought they got a good pass rush. I think that was something that was lacking in the other game against the last time they played Oregon. That was lacking. I think you really saw the height of Dylan Gabriel in this game. I think you saw the limitations that a quarterback like Dylan Gabriel would have in the NFL, because obviously you have ginormous defensive ends and tackles, and he had a lot of balls that were tipped. So I don't know how successful he would be in the NFL, and I think that was put on display in this game. Like, there are limitations to how good he could be at the next level. He had a really good year, Dylan Gabriel, but that was something that I thought was kind of clear from watching this game. But they really boggled him up. Obviously, Oregon had that one burst of momentum where it looked like they could come back. It was possible. But other than those brief moments, this was a domination by Ohio State. Travion Henderson had a really nice run. Judkins had a few solid carries. Emeka Ibuka had a nice touchdown. Didn't see a lot of action from Carnell Tate, which is crazy too. He's like, they just really didn't need him that much in this game. But yeah, they played incredible. I thought the O-line played pretty good. I think that was a big issue against Michigan. I think they hadn't figured out really how they were going to switch things around after Seth went down, and they just put it together, and they figured it out. And Ohio State is moving on to the semifinal to play Texas, and it's kind of shaping up. I mean, all their two of their goals were knocked off the table when they lost that game to Michigan. There was still one left on the table, and it just goes to show that it's going to be interesting in the future when you have talented teams like this that like lose that one big game. I mean, there's still an entire tournament to be played. So really, really going to be interested to see that Ohio State versus Texas matchup. Just going to be an all-timer, I think, a grudge match. Every time Texas and Ohio State play, it seems to be a good game. What I will say about Texas is they really haven't looked that good in the stretch. I don't know if that's more of a Quinn Ewers problem or more of, because they had this game against Arizona State and they let up, and they actually really should have lost it. They got lucky on a deep fourth down TD that they were able to get. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup, but couldn't be happier with the performance from Ohio State. Day gets a solid victory, and that just goes to show how sometimes in life you're going to get knocked down, and it's about how you get up. And sometimes you get knocked down more than once. Sometimes it takes time to change. Sometimes it could be anything. But in this game of football that we saw, Ryan Day failed time and time and time again. 4 years of failure. 4 years of failure. And he's responded and really finally starting to turn it around, starting to get some wins, starting to get some momentum. This is a really quality win. There's very few coaches in college football right now currently that have a win of this caliber on their resume. It's a really, really solid win. He can get another big one against Texas. So we'll see how it all shapes up. But I'm excited as heck. It's been great.